Andrew Bailey, governor of the Bank of England, has just humiliated Keir Starmer on the global stage, just moments after interest rates were slashed again. And, make no mistake, this isn't just about monetary policy. This is about a brutal political reality check delivered straight from the top of the UK's financial establishment. After a reckless and desperate trade deal struck between Starr and Donald Trump, Bailey has stepped forward not to endorse the deal, but to throw cold, hard economic reality in Starr's face. The Bank of England has cut interest rates once more, down to 4.25% from 4.5%. That marks the fourth cut in just a year. But what's more revealing is what Bailey didn't say. He refused to commit to exact timelines or figures, but made one thing clear: the trajectory is gradually and carefully down. Translation: the economic storm isn't over, and the bank is preparing for more damage. Behind the scenes, the bank considered an even deeper cut to 4%. Why? Because the government's shiny new US trade deal is built on shaky ground, and officials are terrified that Trump's global trade war could plunge the UK's already fragile economy into chaos. But instead of warning against the risks of aligning with an unpredictable US administration, Bailey sarcastically welcomed the deal. He called it a signal, he says, of hopefully more to come. And in what sounded more like a rebuke than praise, he said, maybe a jolt is needed to remind everyone that trade actually matters. It was a not-so-subtle jab at Starmer's desperate scramble for foreign deals while ignoring the economic basics at home. This so-called trade agreement, announced with fanfare by the UK and US, was meant to avoid tariffs on select goods. But don't be fooled. This wasn't a sweeping, groundbreaking trade deal. It was a cobbled-together pact designed to cover up the damage Trump's tariffs have already done. According to Bailey and the bank's own statements, the bigger worry now is that this trade chaos could drag down UK growth, and yet, ironically, it might lower inflation as countries like China reroute their cheap goods away from the US and towards Europe. That's the level of uncertainty we're dealing with. Inflation might ease, not because of smart policy, but because the global trade system is being contorted beyond recognition. Bailey's language was scathing in its restraint. He repeated that rates were heading downwards, but the emphasis on being gradual and careful only underscores how fragile the UK economy has become under Starmer's leadership. Inside the Bank of England, divisions are now clear. Out of 9 rate setters, 5 voted for the 0.25% cut, 2 wanted an even larger cut to 4%, and 2 said, don't cut at all. It's a house divided, and Starmer's reckless trade agenda has only added to the confusion. This affects everyone. The bank's base rate directly shapes what high street banks charge or offer. For years, higher rates have punished borrowers and helped savers, but now, even those with fixed-rate mortgages are feeling the heat. Over 80% of homeowners are on fixed deals, but when those expire, the pain begins. Renewals are coming, and they are coming with a price. Mortgage rates have been falling slightly. Why? Because banks and lenders expect more rate cuts this year. Thursday's data showed average 2-year fixed mortgage rates at 5.14% and 5-year rates at 5.08%. But for 600,000 homeowners with tracker mortgages, Thursday's decision has an immediate impact. UK Finance estimates that they'll save £29 a month. For many, like Vander, a woman who just lost her job, every pound matters. She told the BBC that while she once had a great rate, she got caught out when rates spiked. And now, this tiny cut helps a wee bit, but she doesn't expect things to ever return to normal. And here's the bottom line: interest rates are supposed to be the bank's tool for managing inflation. The latest figures show a 2.6% rise in prices year over year, but this is expected to jump after household bills soared in April. That includes everything: energy, water, the basics. The bank says inflation will spike to 3.5% before falling again. But that's hardly reassuring when families are already drowning in bills. Raising rates is supposed to cool spending and slow price hikes, but too many hikes choke the economy, and that's exactly where we are. It's a tight rope, and Starmer's policies have kicked the rope while the UK economy is trying to balance. Yet, despite the turmoil, growth in the first quarter of the year might come in stronger than expected, 0.6%. But don't thank Starmer for that. This modest bump came from US companies stockpiling goods before Trump's tariffs took effect. That's not growth, it's panic buying. The government, of course, is desperate for any positive headline. Growth is their priority, they say, to improve living standards. But what did they actually do last month? They raised national insurance for employers. And what's the impact? The Bank of England says very little so far, but confidence among UK businesses is crumbling. Most companies are sitting on their hands waiting to see if the economy can survive stars' blunders before they invest or hire. Chancellor Rachel Reeves tried to spin Thursday's rate cut as welcome news, but even she had to admit, there's more to do. More to do. That's the understatement of the year. The Bank of England is practically waving a red flag, and Starmer is still patting himself on the back for a deal that's already being picked apart. And what about that US trade deal? It's been sold as historic, a triumph. But here's what it actually does. The US keeps a blanket 10 tariff on almost all UK imports. Some victory on cars. Yes, tariffs go down from 27.5% to 10%, but that's capped at 100,000 vehicles. Britain exported 92,000 last year, so no real room to grow. Steel, yes, duty-free. Finally, ethanol. The UK will take in 1.4 billion lirs. In return, the US gets beef access, 13,000 metric tons of American beef flowing into UK supermarkets. The pharmaceutical sector has been spared for now, but the real issues like NHS drug pricing unresolved. The digital services tax that hits us tech giants still there, and the 100% tariffs Trump proposed on films still looming. And if this wasn't chaotic enough, Starmer confirmed the deal on live TV during a call with Trump, broadcast on both sides of the Atlantic. The timing V-Day, a solemn day hijacked for PR. Treasury Minister Darren Jones tried to defend it, saying the deal was urgent to protect 150,000 livelihoods. He insisted that not signing the deal would have been worse, but critics, including senior Tories, say it's too little, too vague, and too desperate. Even they are calling the UK shafted. This is where we are. A Bank of England governor subtly roasting the Prime Minister while slashing interest rates. A trade deal propped up by spin and fear, and a government clinging to economic survival while Nigel Farage and Reform UK gain ground by the day. The verdict? Bailey may not have raised his voice, but his message was deafening. This government has no control, and the economic house karma built on Trump's unstable foundation, it's already beginning to crack. In another news, Sadiq Khan has finally done it. The man who promised to defend London's green spaces, who swore to protect our environment, is now pushing ahead with a plan so reckless, so brazen that even seasoned critics are calling it an act of environmental vandalism. And standing right beside him, cheering him on, is none other than Angela Rayner. Yes, you heard that right. Sadiq Khan and Angela Rayner are preparing to concrete over London's iconic green belt, the same green belt that has for decades served as the lungs of the capital, the barrier between concrete sprawl and countryside. That's now in the firing line because, according to them, it's not nice enough to protect anymore. Under this outrageous scheme, Khan wants to build tens of thousands of homes on protected land, protected until now. What's his justification? He claims the green belt isn't all beautiful countryside and insists it's low quality, poorly maintained, and rarely enjoyed. Apparently, if it doesn't look like the cover of a postcard, it's up for demolition. This is the same green belt he used to defend, the same green belt he promised voters he would never touch. But now, conveniently, he says the status quo is wrong. Suddenly, it's unsustainable. Suddenly, this man who's failed to meet housing targets for years wants to bulldoze open spaces to cover for his own incompetence. Let's be very clear. This isn't just a change in policy. This is a betrayal, a complete U-turn, a cynical, desperate move by a mayor who's out of ideas and backed into a corner. And who's applauding this betrayal? Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister in waiting, calling it a bold proposal. Bold? No, it's dangerous, it's short-sighted, it's a green light to bulldozers and concrete mixers, and it sets a terrifying precedent. Khan is now going further than the government's own grey belt policy, land that's already considered low value. Instead, he wants to actively target large swathes of green belt land, the same areas he hammered with ULIS charges, punishing motorists for simply trying to live their lives, are now the next victims of his obsession with overdevelopment. City Hall is fuming. Tory leader Susan Hall didn't mince her words. She accused Khan of dancing to Labour's tune and sacrificing London's precious green spaces to appease his paymasters. And she's right. This isn't about solving a housing crisis. It's about politics. It's about power. It's about labor. Flexing their muscles and rewriting the rules. How do you go from defender of the environment to destroyer of the green belt in just a few short years? Easy. You follow the Saudi Khan playbook, make bold promises, get the votes, then rip up your pledges the moment they become inconvenient. And here's the kicker. Khan already has the tools to fix the housing crisis. The Conservatives gave him £9 billion to build affordable homes. £9 billion. Where did it go? Why hasn't he used the brownfield sites already available? The sites he once claimed were more than enough. Andrew Buff, the Conservatives' planning spokesman, put it perfectly. This announcement is a complete betrayal of the public's trust. And when Khan says, only 13% of the green belt is made up of public parks, ask yourself this, what's he planning to do with the other 87? This isn't just a technical planning issue. This is an ideological war on open spaces, a war on community, a war on nature, and it's being led by a mayor who has utterly failed to deliver on housing, failed to support small businesses, and failed to listen to Londoners.